Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day, and above all else, that you're looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Album Spotlight. Now, the band I'm going to be talking about today, I have not mentioned on the show before. That band is Frost, and the album in the spotlight is their latest release, Life in the Wires. Now, a bit of background on Frost. They formed in the UK in 2004. They are a progressive rock band. To date, they have released 5 studio albums, Life in the Wires being their latest one. And this is a follow-up release to their 2021 album, Day and Age. Now, this album is an ambitious one. It's a concept album, 2 discs, 14 tracks in total, 8 tracks on disc one, 6 tracks on disc two, 86 minutes in total. In the band, for this album, you have Jim Godfrey on vocals and keyboards, John Mitchell on guitars and vocals, Nathan King on bass guitar and backing vocals. And for this release, you have the return of drummer Craig Blundell on drums. Now, the last time Craig Blundell performed with the band was for their 2016 release, Falling Satellites. Now, as I said, this album is quite ambitious. It was the brainchild of Jim Godfrey, and he does all the lead vocals for the tracks. They have 2 other vocalists in the band. Usually you have Jim Godfrey and John Mitchell. And sometimes when I hear their albums, I really can't tell who's on lead vocals, whether it's John or Jim, because to me, they both have a very husky sound to their voice, to their vocal delivery. And I literally have to be watching a video of theirs to understand or know who's singing what, right? On lead vocals. So there you go. This album is simply fantastic. Now, as I said, it is a concept album. It's a story of this individual by the name of Nio, and he lives in the realm of AI. And he's basically bored with his existence, and he is fearing that he is going to be relegated to the realm of AI, basically to live out a meaningless existence. So he's looking for something different, something in his eyes that is more tangible, something that he can enjoy more. Uh, One day he comes across a transistor radio, and coming through the radio, he hears this voice of this DJ by the name of Livewire. Well, Nio gets obsessed with this and wants to find out the source of where Livewire is. So Livewire to Nio basically becomes a lifeline, and he wants to find out if there's something more to life than what's in the realm of AI. Okay? But there's a catch here. There's another individual by the name of the All-Seeing Eye, which is basically a Dark Lord, who is watching Nio's, progress and attempts to thwart the progress, right? Very, I guess you'd say, uh, fantasy, obviously, fantasy based, uh, fantastic idea. And yeah, I'm listening to this album. It is very ambitious. Okay, as I said, there are 8 tracks on disc one, 6 tracks on disc two. The tracks range in length from 1 minute 57 seconds to 15 minutes 58 seconds. Okay. I'm going to go through some of the tracks with you and discuss what's going on here. Now, in watching an interview that Jim Godfrey did with one other YouTube channel, um, he was saying that he was inspired um, by bands like Rush, particularly their 80s albums, in terms of the use of synths. And he understood that Alex Lifeson wasn't really a big fan of using synthesizers a lot of the time. And he understood also that Rush got a bit of flack for going down that path of using synths and sequencers, etc. But he himself loved the idea of using synthesizers, and he loved that era of Rush. Now, with this album, um, sorry, I'll take a step back. With the album Day and Age, they specifically talked amongst themselves in the studio, and they came up with the condition of no solos, no guitar solos. And they liked putting these limitations on themselves in the studio because it gave them a challenge to see if they could live up to it or if they would have to revert back to doing, you know, the standard fare in terms of recording. Now with Life in the Wires, uh, he Godfrey, who's basically, I guess, the leader of the band at this point, um, wanted to revert back to using guitars in terms of using extended solos and extended musical passages, reminiscent of their album Million Town in 2006, which garnered critical acclaim all over Europe. Um, so, in listening to this album, it is quite adventurous. It's set in a dystopian society where you have the oppressors trying to keep this individual in, and this individual is trying to find a way out. There has to be something better for them. There has to be something more than what they're seeing and what they're experiencing in the realm of AI. And listening to this album, and when Jim Godfrey was talking about Rush, I kind of not that it's remote, like not that it's connected to Rush in any way, but I kind of um, got sort of I guess you'd say like flashbacks to 2112, side one, where you have the side-long epic about being in a dystopian society where music is banned, but they rediscover these instruments and they want to start playing instruments again and rediscover music. I kind of got that feeling with this album. It's not that it's connected in that way, but the feeling of somebody being repressed and held in and not being able to do what they want to do with their life. It kind of, gave me that um, connection to Rush in that respect. So I'm going to go through the album with you. Again, there are 14 tracks. I'll go through briefly what the music is like. Okay, it's very grand, very epic. Um, Again, to me, there's a lot of light and shade in Frost's music. Okay, light being the soft pastoral, piano keyboard passages, and shade being the heavy guitar oriented drums, bass, sections. But it starts off with Sky Waving, and it's a minute 57 seconds, and it starts off with radio static coming in and a voice that cuts through the static on the radio saying, "Can you hear me?" Now, "Can you hear me" is what's heard on the tail end of the last track on Day and Age. So it's a kind of a continuation there, right? And then the keyboards come in, and it's in a 7/8 time signature. So it's rhythmic, but it's kind of frenetic also at the same time. And there's also building harmony vocals that happen provided by Jim Godfrey. Now, I should also say that Jim Godfrey does all the vocals on the album, and um, the reason why he does that is that the idea is coming from one individual. The idea of breaking out and finding a new society or a new life is coming from one individual. So I guess they thought it was easier that the vocals come from one singer, even though there's uh, two or three singers in the band, right? And I know that one critic, I guess, complained about the fact that Jem sings all of the vocals for all 14 tracks. Um, After Skywaving comes the title track, Life in the Wires Part 1. And it starts off with tight staccato rhythm, uh, drums and guitars, heavy rhythm guitars that come in. It's a really fast-paced track, a good mix of synth and guitars. It's also piano driven. A lot of the tracks on this album are piano driven and synth driven, and I think it's all the better for it, right? Um, a lot of frenetic use of synths and guitars, mixing, and it ends with a delicate piano passage, right? That's part one of Life in the Wires. Next up is track three, uh, This House of Winter. Nice melody on the piano. Um, then the guitars come in for a solo, right? There's a lot of soloing on this album, and the fact that they didn't have any guitar soloing on Day and Age, I guess they felt like they had a lot to catch up on. But again, a nice use of light and shade in the arrangements. Uh, there's also a symphonic quality to the synths that I can hear or that I sense. Um, the next track is the Solid State Orchestra. It's another lengthy track. Most of these tracks, aside from Sky Waving, range in length from 5 minutes and 30 seconds to 8 minutes and change, like 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And the Solid State Orchestra is 6 minutes, 35 seconds. Has futuristic effects that come in tight, rigid guitar, almost really like staccato kind of guitar passages that come in. Very dramatic piano and synth chords. Uh, Again, very piano driven. And at 2 minutes and 38 seconds, this is where in track four, the Solid State Orchestra is where you first hear the voice over the transistor radio of Livewire. And the DJ that comes in, and he's got a very low, very bass, baritone voice. I was gonna say bass voice, baritone voice, and uh, Niall is just sort of enthralled by this. Like he can't believe he's hearing what he's hearing. And again, Livewire will be featured going forward at the end of almost every track, after track four on disc one. It's a fantastic story, and I should say just a side note, this album needs to be heard in its entirety. Even though there are tracks here that could be singles, um, it does need to be listened to in its entirety, because if you don't, you lose the context of the entire story, you know. Um, Moving on. Track five is a song called Evaporator. And in my notes, this is like 8 minutes and change, 8 minutes and 9 seconds. Fast-paced tempo, another piano-driven track. And this is where in the story, Nayo decides to leave the AI realm. In my notes, I have you also uh, good guitar solo. There's a lot of start and stops on this track. Again, a nice use of light and shade, right? And in the storyline, Livewire's voice is basically pushing Niall forward to find this new realm that or this new society that he wants to be a part of. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Strange World is next, clocking in at like 5 minutes and 9 seconds. This is a slow tempo track, nice synth intro. In my notes, I have here, Niall is desperate to find others uh, that he can fit in with for this new society. A slow swell of synths, and again, Live Wire is heard on the radio again. He's basically talking out there. It's almost like he knows that he's pushing Niall forward without even realizing it, right? Like without knowing that he's doing it. Track seven, um, is called Idiot Box, one of the shortest tracks on the album, 4 minutes 59 seconds. Heavy rhythm guitar, dramatic synth stabs. It's very epic in its uh, arrangement, um, epic in its soundscapes in terms of just sort of um, almost like symphonic synth stabs that come in. Um, Track 8, end of CD 1, is a track called Absent Friends, clocking in at 3 minutes and 58 seconds. Slow tempo, nice, nice soothing piano passages, and beautiful strings on this track. And basically, this is Nayo saying, okay, I've left AI, the realm of AI, and I'm looking for people to be around that somewhere where I can fit in, right? CD2 starts with a bang, pretty much. Um, the track is called School, introducing the all-seeing eye. This is where the his nemesis comes in, that's watching him, that wants to keep him in place and not let him leave the realm of AI. In my notes, I have your heavy rhythm guitar, has a cold mechanical sound to it, very sort of cold steel feel to the track. At 1 minute 3 seconds, the tempo changes and the synths build very dramatically, and it's very cinematic, right? It's great. It's just great. Uh, Track 2 is called Propaganda. Uh, 5 minutes and 34 seconds. In my notes, again, stabbing synths. Very dramatic arrangements on this album. Very sort of dramatic synths that come in like that kind of build attention for you. There's a lot of peaks and valleys where, for a few minutes, you're in a sort of a calm space where you're hearing beautiful synths and a melodic piano, and then either the drums and the guitars come in, or you hear more stabbing synths that come in, right? And they want to keep you on your toes when you're listening to this album. Okay, this is not an album that you can sit and listen to and relax. I mean, you can listen to while you're doing stuff around the house, obviously, or when you have people over, but it's not an album that, in my opinion, that you can sit and just relax for the evening, because it doesn't let you. Music doesn't let you, you know. It is fantastic, guys. Propaganda again, back to my notes. As I said, stabbing synths on the intro, very grand and epic, swing drum pattern that comes in. And this is where the character of Nayo is putting the pieces together in his mind as to what is happening. Like he's starting to realize that he's being oppressed and someone is purposely stopping him or trying to stop him from finding this new civilization. Uh, Song 3 is another beautiful track called Sign of Life, 5 minutes and 44 seconds. This track, Sign of Life, and Absent Friends could actually be released as singles, as standalone singles, if they were going to do that, um, to release singles from this album. These are just my picks. In my notes I have here for Sign of Life, um, beautiful strings, very rhythmic percussion that comes in during the track, just beautifully done. Um, Track 4 is a piece called Moral and Consequence, 8 minutes and 13 seconds. Very percussive and very rhythmic, dramatic piano chords that come in. And there's a breakdown section on this track, 8 minutes and 13 seconds. They want to give you a bit of time to sort of relax. And then comes in a great synth and guitar solo on this track. Okay. But again, there's a lot of use of light and shade, where again, as I've said before, light is the more softer pastoral quiet passages, and shade is the more heavier, guitar-oriented rock sections. Um, Track number 5, After Moral and Consequence, is Life in the Wires Part 2. This is where the epic begins to come to its climatic conclusion, clocking in at 15 minutes and 52 seconds. Um, this is where I kind of think it's like, good versus evil, and who's gonna win over, between good versus evil. In my notes, I have here slow building synths, frenetic synth passages that come in, very percussive, great use of organ on this track. Multiple time signature changes on this track. The drums are very prominent on this track. Greg Blundell's drumming on this is just beautiful. And I mean, for the more percussive uh, tracks, he's very much in the pocket, very much solid in what he's doing, and he knows what he needs to deliver on the drums. And damn it, does he ever deliver on the drums on this son of a bitch? It's I was gonna say hilarious. It's amazing that he's doing, the drumming that he does on this is just fantastic. Um, Continuing in my notes, nice thick guitar tone from John Mitchell. At 6:10, the tempo changes, and then there's some beautiful tranquil piano and synth chords that come in. At 6:50, the tempo changes again, and you're back in the melee, like the fight, with the resistance and stuff, right? Um, and the drums do come in, fast tempo between the guitars and the synths, nice guitar solo and a nice piano solo. Very intricate instrumentation on this piece. Again, 15 minutes and 52 seconds. It's very ambitious, and it's very intricate, very layered, and you really have to listen to what's going on. But it's done beautifully, and it does end on a beautiful piano fade out. Again, there's a lot of use of light and shade, right, on this album. And everything culminates with this track with Life in the Wires Part 2, right? So it is amazing, amazing. The final track is a track number 6 called Starting Fires, clocking in at 4 minutes and 46 seconds. And in my notes, I have here swells of pianos and synths, very dramatic and very grand in terms of the synth arrangement and what comes in. And with this track, the character of Niall is basically saying he's made it through the war, he's made it away from the AI realm, and he's done. He's moving on. He's not going to look back on where he came from, because where he came from, he was feeling oppressed. He is looking towards the future, and he has basically come through the fire of dealing with the all-seeing eye character, and has decided to start anew and build a new future for himself in a new civilization. So there you have it, guys. There's the album. I mean, again, it is very ambitious. But if you know Frost, I mean, they've done epic tracks before. The title track from Million Town is like, I believe it's 26 minutes. I have the album. I haven't checked it, listened to it in a while, but it's grand, it's epic, it's huge. And it is fantastic that this band chose to come back, after 3 years, and come back with you know, a concept album uh, of this scale. And as Jim Godfrey said in the interview that I watched, he says, let's not make any mistake about this. He says, we are a progressive rock band. So if we were to, if they were to come back and do like 3 or 4 minute, just, standard rock kind of, stuff, to them, they wouldn't have been doing what was true to them. And this idea really appealed to Jim Godfrey. So they went for it, and the band supported him on it. And the arrangements are tight. The use of strings is very grand, very epic, very cinematic in spots. And Craig Blundell on drums is simply fan bloody tastic. He's very tight, again, very in the pocket, and it's amazing. It's amazing. 86 minutes long. So, I mean, you know what, guys? What you got to lose? It's fantastic. And you can get this on Amazon for like $30. You can listen to it on YouTube before you buy it. The entire album is available on YouTube to stream. So listen to it. Again, don't take my word for it. Listen to it and let me know what you think when you listen to the album down in the comments below. And yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for quote unquote new bands to listen to, new artists. And if whenever I find an artist or a band that releases an album that I find challenging and intricate and interesting to listen to and makes me think a little bit too, right? Um, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I love that. So you know what? Check this out. Again, you can get Life in the Wires on Amazon, .ca, .com, .uk, and listen to you at your own pleasure. So that's it for now. Please join me for more episodes. I've got more ideas coming, more shows to do with Jim Bricker and Bill Schuster and Ken Cheshire, and more shows to do solo. So please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content I've got coming up. All right. And again, I want to thank all of you guys for supporting me up to this point. It's been difficult. It's been hard to do my own channel, but it's been fun. And I really do appreciate everybody watching. So again, please look after yourselves and one another, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye for now.